Hey, this is Joseph Kim coming at you from Bangalore, India. Now, sometimes I wonder, how in the world did I wind up here, of all places? Here in India, trying to build a game studio in a country where the industry is too early, where we can't find the talent at the skill level that we need, where the culture is so different with weird legal and other restrictions, and we have to train almost everyone across the board, oftentimes from zero. And on top of all of that, I'm away from my family, my wife, my kids, living in, I'll just say, not ideal conditions, on top of continuing to sacrifice my health because of my work ethic. And not to say that Bangalore doesn't have some advantages or living here is super difficult, because it's not. But coming from Santa Clara, California, it's definitely not the same. And so that brings me to the topic I wanted to talk about today, which is about living with purpose. And I'm not going to try to profess that I'm doing things the only right way or even the right way, because I'm not sure if I really am doing things the right way, or that you necessarily should buy into the philosophy that I believe in. But I want to share why I'm doing what I'm doing, given the significant impact financially to my family and for my lifestyle personally. And in particular, I want to make sure that my kids try to understand why I'm away so much and why I believe it's actually worth the sacrifice. So let's talk about living with purpose. And for some context and background, I'm an old guy who's basically lived a relatively mediocre Silicon Valley career. And maybe the one difference between me and others is just the wide variety of work I've done, starting off as kind of a software developer working at companies like Lawrence Berkeley National Labs and Cisco Systems, then shifting to management consulting, and then for the past 10, 12 years or so as an operational and executive role in product management and leadership, and kind of sprinkled throughout my career as well have been a few unsuccessful attempts at entrepreneurship. And while I've done, I guess I'd say, okay over my career, as I've gotten older, the more and more I've felt that I'm not really living a very meaningful life. And things really came to a head during my last job, where I didn't really like the way in which the company was operating, the culture, the processes, and the politics, most of all. I felt there was a better way, and more than that, I felt that I should be doing something more meaningful. And it was around that time I came across an essay by Clayton Christian called How Will You Measure Your Life? And this essay really crystallized my perspective on what I wanted to do. I wanted to, first of all, create a company that just kind of eliminated all of the big mistakes I was seeing at many game studios. And at that time, I was working in games publishing. And so I got to meet with many game studios around the world. And I just saw so many of the same big mistakes being repeated over and over again, leading to inefficiency and poor outcomes. So I wanted to create a company that supported my own values and to have a culture as free from nonsense and politics as possible. But most of all, I wanted to create an organization with purpose and meaning. So let me explain that. Even in my modest career, I feel that I would not have been able to achieve the success that I have had without some kind of help. Someone helped me. Someone showed me something. Someone taught me something. Someone introduced me to someone, the right person who would wind up helping me find the right job. In other words, someone provided me with opportunity. And I believe all successful people have had some kind of help, but not everyone has access to such kinds of help and those kinds of opportunity, and especially here in India. So part of why we are here, my company Leela is here in India, is not only to build long-term structural advantage into our organization through having superior cost structure, access to potential talent, but also because I want to build an organization that also provides access to help and opportunity to those who don't have access to opportunity. So let's go back to Clayton Christensen and his essay, How Will You Measure Your Life? Now, one of the biggest points he makes is to highlight the mistake many of his Harvard Business School classmates made in prioritizing material achievement over one's family. Many of his friends had great financial success, broken homes, separated families, and many were very unhappy with their lives. And he asks, at the end of your life, when you look back, what will be most important? How will you measure your life? Will it be how high you got in an org chart? Or will it be your relationships and the health of your family? And he also suggests that the measure of his life may boil down to the simple question, how many individual people have you helped? And I've thought a lot about this because, on the one hand, I appreciate and respect the choice of someone to focus on investing in the future of their family and the people around them. I think that is true. Family should trump material achievement always. And so, quite simply, I too would rather be rich in family rather than rich in my bank account. That's pretty much an easy call for me. But I also thought that if I had a chance to create something big, something that can make a difference to help other people, wouldn't that also be important too? What if I could work on a mission with a purpose worth living for? And for me, that purpose is helping to provide people with opportunities through this company, Leela, and to create an organization that helps maximize human potential. And so there's a bit of a nuanced difference from one of the key points made in Clayton Christensen's essay. He suggests, as I mentioned, that many of his Harvard Business School classmates optimized their careers for achievement, but then wound up living unhappy lives. And I 100% agree with that. But a consequence of the exercise that he suggests, which is to imagine looking back at the end of your life and thinking about how you would have measured or valued your life, sort of that decision tree of potential outcomes doesn't just consist of family versus achievement. And that exercise made me think not only about my family, but also about a purpose for my life. And so the third option to family and achievement is purpose. And this realization made me follow the path I'm currently on, having a purpose, having a mission or purpose that I think could be so valuable that it would be worth sacrificing my time, my finances, at least in the short term, and my family. Now, I actually don't have any idea what's going to happen from here. Our company, we are faced with massive adversity. And I recently remarked to a fellow game studio founder that here in India and for the product we're trying to make, it's really like living life in nightmare difficulty mode. It is just very, very challenging. And I also wish I could say that I could do this job without having to physically be here in India. But I can honestly say from where we were almost 2 months ago on this most recent trip to where we are today, I can't stress enough how, for the kind of business we're trying to build, for the amount of change we're trying to implement, I really do have to be here. And I really believe our chances of success without me being here or my co-founders being here would really be zero. The bigger question is, how long can I do this without wrecking my family, without wrecking my health? I can't really answer that question really well right now, but I did promise my family that this is it. I'm going to do or die on this attempt. And if it doesn't work, well, then I'll just go back. I'll take a 9 to 5 job, even if it's at Starbucks, and I'll call it a day. And at that point, I feel like I can then focus on my family after I've taken my shot. Um, I really felt this topic is important to talk about because I believe there are just so many people living in this world who are just living. They are just existing until they die. And they really seek leisure and luxury as their ultimate goal. And I don't want to be like that. I want to live with purpose. And another thing that I've noticed is that recently there's been this notion of quiet quitters that starting to become popular. And it's a term for young people who just do the bare minimum at work, and otherwise they don't care about their work at all. And many boomers, I think mistakenly, blame the young people. They all say, they are so lazy. I can't believe this next generation of kids are so bad. But I also think this phenomenon really requires some reflection and actually requires better leadership. The bigger question should be whether we as executives, founders, and leaders are giving young people a reason for working. So if you're running a bullshit company whose only motive is profit and you're just squeezing your employees, why should they work any longer than they have to? So I believe there needs to be reflection from both sides of this equation. Anyway, I'm running a bit long here, but just to bring this all to a close, I want to end with this key message I have for my kids. So, Jackson, Asher, Kayla, if you ever watch this, listen closely. Wherever you wind up later in life in terms of work, family, and life objectives, I just think it would be a shame if you just existed and then died. My personal belief is that a life of leisure and luxury isn't worth living. That's a personal choice. I think it's fine for other people, it's their choice. But I believe experiencing hardship and challenges is part of the marrow of life that I would hope you would experience as well. And for me, I think I've just lived too long as a mediocre Silicon Valley guy doing various things without having real impact on the world or impact on other people. So don't wait as long as I did. I'm sorry I couldn't be there for you guys so much, but let's try to make my sacrifice worthwhile. Please do find your purpose and try to live a life of meaning and, more importantly, service to others.